All right, welcome everybody. We're diving in today to the 2025 August market update. Hard to believe we're already at this point in the year, but we have hopefully what's some decent news as we look at what the trajectory of the market might be moving forward. So let's go ahead and jump into the numbers here and take a look at what August 2025 looked like. Again, as always, we're looking at the 5-county area, including Wake, Durham, Johnston, Orange, and Chatham counties. First off, new listings were up 2.3%. So we were just over 3,000 new listings hitting the market in August. So again, up from 2,946 that we had last year. If we look year to date, new listings hitting the market is up 14.1%. So that's pretty good news. We want to continue to see new listings hitting the market. We are still at a shortage of inventory right now, even though sellers are feeling some pain, which I'll touch on in just a few minutes. In terms of houses not moving as quickly as they would want. The reality is we still don't have the listing inventory that we need. And if we expect the buy side of the transaction, the demand side, to start picking up over the next 12 months, we're certainly going to need those listings to help support that demand side. Closed sales for the month were up 3.8% over August of 2024. So we had just a shade under 2,400 closings in August, which is nice compared to the 2,300 we had last year. But year to date, we're just up about 1.1% in terms of closed sales. So again, we'll look at this in chart form in just a couple of minutes to show you the trajectory of the market in terms of closed sales transactions. Of course, we need those new listings to come in so that we can have closed sales. We need that demand side, the buyer activity to pick up. But year to date being up 1.1%, that is at least a small improvement over what we saw in 2024. So hopefully that trend continues. Median sale price for August was up 4.4%, probably a little bit larger of an increase than we would love to see. Median price for the month at $462,550. Year to date, though, up just 1.1% on price. That's not a bad metric. So if we could round out the year at about being up 1%, I'd say that's a pretty good number as we look at trying to keep prices moderated. We don't want prices to meaningfully go down, of course, but we also don't want to see large spikes in appreciation right now either. So an annual increase of 1% would be acceptable. If we look at inventory for the month, up 34.8% year over year to 7,600 homes at a point in time when that was pulled, compared to August of 2024 at 5,600 homes. So about 2,000 more homes on the market at the same time at this point in 2025 compared to this point in 2024. So that's good, even though that's a large increase when we look at those gross numbers here in a second compared to 2019. We'll see that the number is still below where we would like to be. So we need that inventory here so that when the demand side picks up, the buyer activity picks up, we have the inventory to support that without prices having to go up and see larger appreciation spikes. So inventory supply, we're at 3.2 months compared to 2.5 months at the same point last year. Again, just a reflection of the more listings coming on the market. Demand side has been a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish, but 3 months of inventory, not a bad place to be at all. In fact, that's generally pretty indicative of a somewhat healthy market. So let's look back, as I like to do, at August of 2019. So the similar period prior to COVID. And you can see inventory levels almost at 8,600 homes. So there were 1,000 more homes on the market in August of 2019 than there were in August of this year. And if you were selling back in 2019, you might remember that it felt like there was not nearly enough inventory available. So we have plenty of runway to go before we have any concern over our inventory levels in our market. So we'll see what 2026 has to bring, and as well as the remainder of this year. But as you can see, supply of inventory at 2.5 or 2.6 months back in 2019. Now, getting into the sales price. Median sales price back in 2019 was just a shade under 293. And of course, here we are in 2025, 6 years later, and we see 462. So pretty massive difference there. Now, sometimes that can look out of scale because when you start talking about percentage increases, As the number gets higher, the difference year to year, of course, gets larger. But let's look at if we had applied normal appreciation rate. And I'm using 5.5% as a normal appreciation rate. We are in an area with high inbound migration. So housing is typically in demand, and we might see a higher average appreciation than many other markets in the country. So if we applied that 5.5% starting back in August of 2019, using 292,822 as our starting point, that would get our median price up to 403,755. So this is where we would have been if we had had just straight line 5.5% appreciation. Now, as we know, that's not the way it works in the real world. And of course, in 2020, 2021, and the first half of 2022, we saw really significant price increases in our area. That's what has left us with this median price here of 462. Now, again, year to date, we're only up 1.1%, and yet we still have this really large gap between where we would have been at 403 and where we are now at 462. So as I've been talking about for months, and probably over a year at this point, if we see prices stay flat for the next 2 years, we still won't have gotten up to this 462 point. So if we have any hope of quickly getting back to a market of affordability, yes, we do need interest rates to drop. Yes, we do need wage increases, but we also need prices to stay moderated. So that's why this increase in inventory is important, because as we see rates come down and as we see the buy side demand pick up, again, I will keep reiterating, we need the inventory there to support that in order to keep prices moderated and moving us towards a more affordable market. Let's look at new listings real quick. So new listings that came on in August of 2019, we had over 3,600. Again, look back where we are today, we had just over 3,000. So that's about a 20% decrease or shortage from where we were in 2019. So while we're moving in the right direction, we still have a lot of runway here where we need more properties coming on the market. And then the really big pain point here, the thing that impacts not just real estate agents, but everyone associated with the real estate industry. This is inspectors, appraisers, contractors, closing attorneys, everyone that's involved in the real estate ecosystem. When you don't have closings happening, that means there's a shortage of opportunities for all of those industries. And in 2019, we had just under 3,300 closings in this 5-county area in August. And again, if we look back up to where we were this year, we were just under 2,400. So you're looking at about a 900 transaction shortage between 2019 and 2025. And of course, we know there are more people who live here today than there were 6 years ago. And so the difference in closed sales is even more acute because of the fact that we are a larger population and yet we have smaller transactions or fewer transactions happening. So we're at a 30 to 35% shortage just to get back to where we were in 2019. And you can see these numbers really stand out when you look year to date. We had almost 24,000 closings by the end of August in 2019, and we're just over 18,000 here this year. So pretty big difference there. Let's look at the inventory levels. These are just the gross numbers. I'm not going to spend much time here, but I want to show you in chart form kind of where we are right now. So this middle line, this green line represents 2025. This is our year over year inventory levels. Now we can't look at inventory levels on a year to date basis because it's just a point in time metric that gets pulled each month. But we can see how things lined up. So again, this is a normal trajectory that we would see here where inventory might peak really anywhere between May and July typically. Although if you look at 2024, it actually technically peaked here in October, and in 2019 rather, it peaked here in September. This year, we will probably see kind of a normal trajectory here as we approach the end of the year. So still a good little gap here to get back to 2019, just to give you a visual there. All right, so when we look at new listings, again, these are just the gross numbers. I'm not going to stay here and review this, but I want to show you in chart form what it looks like in terms of new listings hitting the market. So again, the green bar represents 2025. The good news is that we've been ahead of the pace from 2024 in terms of new listings hitting the market since the beginning of the year. So these are all year over year, cumulative numbers as we look at new listings hitting the market. So we're not quite caught up to where we would have been or where we were in 2019. But as you can see, we're moving in the right direction. We continue to widen this gap between 2025 and 2024. And it'll be really interesting to see where we land in here at the end of the year in terms of new listings that hit the market. And then, of course, we hope that that trajectory will continue and we will continue bridging that gap into 2026. No reason to think that that won't happen right now, but only time will tell. All right, so closed sales, again, this is what's maybe most important because real estate agents don't get paid to list houses, they get paid to sell houses. So when we look at the gross numbers compared to 2019 and to last year, this is your month over month comparison. And so other than in January, where we did have more closed sales this year than we did last year, not than we did in 2019, of course, but then we started seeing that the number of closings happening were actually lower this year. So when we look at February and March and April, the year-over-year numbers weren't looking good. We weren't trending in the right direction because we weren't having more transactions. But then all of a sudden you look in May and the scales tilted. In May, we had more closings year over year than we did last year. Same for June, same for July, and now same for August. So let's look at this at a different way with the cumulative numbers. I think this is even a more telling story because while in May we had more closings month over month, okay, year over year rather, we didn't actually catch up year to date until we got to July. And then we surpassed what we had year to date in July compared to year to date in 2024. That trend, of course, continued, and we are still ahead of the pace. Again, this is that 1.1% where we've had 1.1% more closings this year than we did at the same time last year. But as you can see, we still have a huge gap to get back to where we were in 2019. And that's a good benchmark if we can get back to these levels, showing that we're moving in a healthy direction. So just a little visualization here for you to help you see where we're trying to get to and where we are. All right, two more things, and then I'm going to wrap it up for this month. First is this new listings to closings ratio. What this does, this doesn't show you necessarily how healthy our market is because this doesn't take into account a total number of transactions, which again, new listings and closings are both down on a gross, from a gross perspective. But when we look at that ratio, it kind of tells you how painful does it feel for sellers. And so this shows you that right now this ratio is at 1.49 year to date, which means it takes approximately 6 listings to sell 4 houses. So that means for every 6 listings you take, 2 of them are not going to sell. And that's an important metric and number to be talking to your sellers about, to say, hey, look, this is the reality. If you want to beat that, if you want to make sure you aren't one of the 2 that don't sell, we have to have your home prepared. It has to be one of the best showing conditions of all the available homes on the market, and it needs to be one of the most competitively priced. And that's how you become one of the 4 that sell versus the 2 that don't sell. Because even the 4 that are selling are taking longer to sell. So sellers need to make the right decisions. Agents need to be providing the right guidance to their sellers to make sure those listings are moving and capturing the attention of the available buyers out there. And then the last thing, we'll look at affordability. No real good news to share here. August of 2019, affordability was twice what it is now, almost twice. It was 140, meaning, of course, the median income was 140% of what you needed to afford the median priced home. Right now, the median income is only 73% of what you need to afford the median priced home. So affordability in dire straits. Up from 2 years ago, slightly down from last year, but no matter how you slice it, not a great place to be. So this will be the reflection of wage growth, wage increases, interest rates coming down to make monthly payments for buyers more affordable, and then home prices staying moderated or coming down. So we'll continue to watch that number. Lots of metrics to look at here. Hopefully some of this data was helpful for you and you can use it. If you have questions, put it in the comments or reach out to us directly. We're happy to chat about real estate anytime. All right, until next time, take care.